Hello guys, my name is Nick and you are watching The Sports Entertainer. Make sure you have subscribed to our channel with post notifications turned on so that you never miss out on one of our daily WWE videos. Well guys, the WWE has definitely been going through a rough patch over the past few weeks, and following last night's convoluted and bizarre episode of Monday Night Raw, which saw Vince introduce a new wildcard rule that allows a few superstars to show up on Raw from SmackDown Live and vice versa. Clearly a desperate attempt to bring up the ratings, and things definitely don't look to be heading in a very promising direction for the immediate time being. As we've mentioned previously, Vince McMahon has been under a lot of stress and pressure behind the scenes in WWE post-WrestleMania 35. And with Vince McMahon being relatively hot-tempered as of late, there are quite a few superstars who are currently in Vince's bad books, aka in hot water backstage in WWE. Now we all know of the wrestlers who've expressed their frustrations with the company and are looking to leave for greener pastures: Sasha Banks, The Revival, Gallows and Anderson, and Luke Harper specifically, but there are 4 wrestlers, some of whom you may not expect, who are reportedly in trouble backstage despite things seemingly being decent for a number of them on television. These wrestlers being Lio Rush, who is the only one out of the 4 who has been removed from television, Becky Lynch, Braun Strowman and EC3. Although 2 of these stars, namely EC3 and Lio Rush, could have found themselves quickly fired from the WWE in another time, with AEW All Elite Wrestling beginning to garner more and more buzz, especially with the WWE's lackluster product as of late. One of our sources have informed us that Vince McMahon has no intention of letting any of these wrestlers go this year, and will instead punish the talent he sees fit, whether it be keeping them off television, backstage punishment, or an on-screen burial of sorts. To put things in perspective of how intimidated Vince McMahon is of AEW scooping up disgruntled and released WWE wrestlers, one source has noted that Vince offered an unnamed undercard low-ranking talent $500,000 a year to re-sign with the company, with the fear of that said wrestler joining AEW if they were released, and this is something Jim Ross has confirmed. In today's video, we'll go over the 4 wrestlers who are currently in trouble backstage in WWE, and the reasons as to why each star has garnered heat behind the scenes, and how McMahon reportedly plans to deal with each wrestler. To start things off, we'll go over why Bobby Lashley's mouthpiece, Lio Rush, has garnered nuclear levels of heat backstage in WWE with Vince McMahon, and it goes well beyond the fact that Lio apparently turned down Vince's $300,000 per year deal, which was said to be a 5-year contract with the company, and Lio instead demanded twice the pay, something that has only added to Vince McMahon being furious with Lio Rush. The interesting thing to note about Lio is the fact that his current deal with the WWE is set to expire sometime in mid-2020, and this basically means that Vince has plenty of time to dish out punishment on Rush, much like how McMahon has done for arguably one of the best tag teams in the world today, The Revival on Raw, who also refused Vince's demands to sign new deals with the WWE. However, the main reason why Lio Rush is in serious trouble backstage stems from the fact that Lio has been extremely difficult to work with behind the scenes for not only wrestlers. A big incident with Finn Balor has been reported, but high-ranking executives as well. Not to mention the fact that Lio Rush has made his feelings very clear to the WWE universe that he believes he is a main event level talent and desires far more than he has been given thus far. As far as how Vince plans to deal with Lio, one source has confirmed that Rush has been removed from one of the WWE's tours for May, and following that, it is almost a guarantee that Lio Rush will be punished for his behavior on screen here and there until his contract runs up, and there's even been speculation that Vince may demote Lio Rush back to NXT, where he would primarily serve as an enhancement talent for the brand's rising stars. Next up, we have the monster among men, Braun Strowman. And while the WWE have made an effort to continue pushing Strowman to a certain extent, we have been informed that with the issues Vince has been having with Braun Strowman behind the scenes, the chances of Braun winning a WWE world title in the near future are almost zero. According to our sources, Vince McMahon now views Braun Strowman as the new heir's equivalent of the Big Show, and this wouldn't have apparently been the case if Braun didn't get in Vince's bad books not only towards the end of 2018 for poor backstage etiquette, namely leaving shows early or arriving late, but following WrestleMania 35 for allegedly botching a number of spots in WrestleMania 35's Under the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which had reportedly angered Vince to a great extent. If you hadn't known, one apparent botched moment occurred when Luke Harper was hoisting up Mustafa Ali, where Braun was supposed to deliver a big boot to Harper's face, effectively eliminating both talents from the match. When Vince had seen this play out on screen, Vince, who had already had some issues earlier in the night with Brock Lesnar, who was putting up a fit backstage due to the placement of his Universal title match on the WrestleMania card, was heard cussing out loud in anger. As well, the ending of the Battle Royal had also been partly botched, thus taking some of the excitement out of Braun's supposed big win after eliminating SNL's Colin Jost and Michael Che, which further angered Vince. This is reportedly the reason why the WWE haven't been doing much with Strowman since WrestleMania, besides his typical attacks. And according to one source, Vince doesn't plan to punish Strowman in the way of keeping him off television or burying Braun like the Revival, but more of a gradual demotion from the top of the card, and an overall lack of championship opportunities. In simple terms, McMahon now allegedly views Braun Strowman as a sideshow mid-card freak who destroys other mid-card talents with no real payoff. It's truly unfortunate that Braun Strowman's career in WWE is heading in a downward spiral, because at one point in time, not too long ago should we add, Strowman was extremely over with fans and most were on board with the idea of Braun dethroning Lesnar of the Universal Championship. How much can change in just 1 year? We now move on to perhaps the most surprising out of the 4 superstars who are in trouble of sorts backstage in WWE, and this is the current double champion Becky Lynch. Now there's no question that it has seemed as though Becky Lynch has been established as one of the company's cornerstones in the women's division, but according to multiple reports, McMahon is no longer quite as high on the Irish lass kicker due to the apparent belief that he feels as though Becky is cooling off in the sense that her momentum's wearing off. And this is compounded by the fact that even prior to WrestleMania 35, Becky had garnered backstage heat in WWE due to her antics on Twitter, mainly Becky's back and forth feud with Ronda Rousey, leading up to the showcase of the Immortals, and after WrestleMania's quote-unquote dismal main event in Vince's eyes, which he apparently partly blames on Becky's lackluster performance, things don't look to be heading in a very promising direction where Lynch is concerned. If you hadn't known, Vince was reportedly never a big fan or supporter of Becky's The Man gimmick, and the only alleged reason why he went ahead with pushing Becky is because of the large reception from fans. But with McMahon now believing that Becky is partly responsible for the poor ratings lately, it's definitely not good news. There's now speculation that Lacey Evans could end up winning the Raw Women's title from Becky Lynch at the upcoming Money in the Bank pay-per-view event, and if the worst case scenario ends up coming true, Charlotte may also be in line to win the SmackDown Women's title from Becky Lynch at the show as well. In all honesty, this news really shouldn't come as much of a shock for fans, considering Becky was never one of Vince McMahon's chosen ones when it comes to the women's division in WWE. And taking into account the fact that Becky Lynch got over with the WWE Universe on her own, while also sometimes going off script on Twitter, which not surprisingly annoyed Vince McMahon, Becky Lynch's momentum could very well be halted. And finally guys, the last wrestler who is apparently in some hot water backstage in WWE is the former multi-time TNA World Champion EC3. Without question, the fact that EC3 has not been in a great spot in WWE has been well known for a number of months now, but with the new information our sources have clued us in on regarding why EC3 is continuing to be essentially buried, it's evident that the future of EC3 in the company is extraordinarily bleak. Though, as we mentioned in the beginning of the video, McMahon has no intentions whatsoever of letting any of these talents go, even if they are in his bad books, considering the risk of All Elite Wrestling offering them better opportunities. And there's no doubt that EC3, a talent that Vince McMahon has held back to a bizarre extent since his call up to the main roster, would be able to find great success elsewhere. But again, this is something that Vince won't allow to happen. For those of you unaware, last month, there were rumors swirling around that Vince was willing to give EC3 another shot to succeed on the main roster, in the form of McMahon giving EC3 a new manager, Drake Maverick, and this pairing was put on trial during EC3's dark match against Luke Harper on SmackDown Live a few weeks ago, but unfortunately for EC3, we've been told that Vince McMahon absolutely hated not only EC3's match against Harper, but also the pairing between Maverick and Ethan Carter. Vince apparently just isn't a fan whatsoever of EC3, and while McMahon definitely isn't willing to release him, you can expect as punishment, Ethan Carter III will continue to be either embarrassed on WWE television, like he was during a segment with Braun Strowman a couple of weeks ago, or continue to be buried on WWE Main Event. And the burial had continued this week on the Main Event taping, which saw EC3 defeated with ease against Cedric Alexander. One of our sources has mentioned that if it was 2017 or even 2018, EC3 would have been guaranteed for a release post-WrestleMania. Well guys, that wraps up the reasoning as to why each of these 4 current WWE superstars has garnered heat backstage in the company, and the possible punishment Vince intends to dish out over the coming months. And while the argument could be made that 1 or 2 of them deserve the backstage heat they have received as of late, namely Lio Rush, there's no question that McMahon is intentionally trying to bury both EC3 and Becky Lynch due to his own personal opinions of the 2 superstars, over doing so for legitimate and understandable reasons. With that said, do you believe that these 4 WWE wrestlers warrant being in trouble backstage in the company? And as well, do you believe that Becky Lynch along with Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey headlining WrestleMania 35 this year with an underwhelming match is the main cause of the dwindling viewership and ratings? And lastly, in regards to that question, do you believe that Becky Lynch should be the one out of the 3 punished, so to speak, due to the sole reason that Ronda and Flair are Vince's chosen ones? Make sure you sound off in the comment section down below and do give us your thoughts and opinions on the matter. Thanks for watching The Sports Entertainer. Make sure you leave a like and comment, and also be sure that you hit that subscribe button for all of our daily WWE videos.